So what I've done here is made a map to make it easier to follow. Here are the areas that you're going to darken. Actually, that one too. Whoops. And that's going to help you find your place. It's really hard to look at otherwise. Okay, so I'm going to do that here. And what I chose to use, I wanted something kind of neutral and pretty dull because I want the petals to seem luminous in contrast to the background. So I'm using raw sienna and ultramarine. And you can see that makes a just kind of a dead gray. See, I think I want a little more raw sienna in it maybe. Okay. And I would like for it to have just a little bit more life to it than that. That's just pretty bad. So what I did was I took the tiniest, well, that's more than, okay, there, the tiniest little bit of phthalo green. That might be too much. Let's put just a little in there. Whoa, 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 whoa. Get rid of some of that. And then let's thin it down with some more water. Okay, so we've got here a green. I could use that. I think I want a little more raw sienna. There, okay. The raw sienna makes it quiet and dulls it down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and paint that around here. And you could get it either light or darkish. I preferred to start out light. In fact, I think I'm going to keep my background light. I planned originally to make a kind of a dark background around these, but I'll show you in a few minutes. That's why I changed my mind. So we just pretend that little boy isn't there. So this is just an example of that color. Obviously, it serves no real purpose here on this demonstration. Other than that, like I said, I wouldn't get this too dark. By the way, I am just loving this little brush. It's a Da Vinci Zero. If you get a different brand, Zero may not mean the same thing. So now I'm just recommending the Da Vinci because it's this, I've got several of them and I like the different sizes, but I particularly like this size. I think this just does something special when you're trying to work smaller that I haven't been able to get in any other brush. Okay, so we've done that. Now, I'll show you why, again, why I want to keep it light. Originally, I was going to do a really dark background, and I do have some strong darks back in here. But these little dots out here, these are part of the stamens that come off of this little thing, which is the actual flower. And I just happen to like those dark, like this masking is doing, this PBO. And these petals back here is where the light is really hitting, and these are a lot lighter. So after I thought about it, I decided that I wanted these to be dark and leave these very light, in which case, you know, I'm going to have some strong darks in here, and I like the idea of the lighter background. I want everybody to do what works for them. I mean, you could design this more than one way. So right here, you will see that I've got some interesting things going on with the petals, the veins in the petals. I made the center one, of course, the primary one, darker than the others because that's a deeper area. And I put these veins in first. If you look at your photo, whoops, if you look at your photo, you can discover all kinds of different color changes in here that I suggest using. There are greens, there are golds. A lot of people are looking at the reds in here and are excited by those. Wasn't my first choice, but I've seen some people do some great things with more like pinks and greens on this. Okay, so you can see that we've got an interesting, don't pay attention to those right now. You can see that we have interesting veins and just hints of veins. Oh, here's the other thing about this. I did not trace these other veins. I might have put in a little bit of the center vein on some of them, but that was it. Lines here you don't want. You want to be able to put those in. But here's the thing. This gives you something that's a little stronger and easier to read than the photo, which is pretty kind of airy and lost. So I thought it just might make it easier for some people to work with if they had this. They had those lines. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, well, got to have my photo out here. Okay. Or I could have my, this piece out here. In fact, maybe that's what I'll do. So I'm doing these two leaves. They don't match exactly because I just hand drew those in. I didn't trace them. All right. So I'm going to make that a little more of a greenish something or another. And I'm using, basically, I'm working with Quin Gold. And you can substitute any of these you want. Ultramarine. And I'm using Quin Burnt Scarlet because right now I'm going for getting some depth in here. I want some of these veins to be relatively dark. After all, we're going to put color on top. Whoops. Color on top of them. Whoops, I'm in the wrong place. Here we go. Here we go. Get your act together, Ann. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use a pure color at all, but I'm going to use combinations of these three. So right now I'm just going to put a little bit of blue into the gold. And I want this to be almost creamy paint. I don't want it to be too thin, but it should still flow off the end of the brush. If it's not just flowing, then it's not wet enough to work. So here's what I do. I'm coming down the vein and getting pretty strong there. So this color is wet enough that I'm able, and I'm working it on there strong enough that it's beaded up, even though you can't see it. And I might skip some areas. So maybe something like that. I'm going to wash that brush out really well. And, you know, what really works best for me is with these is just, for a lot of things, is just to rake the brush off several times. Then I'm going to lay the brush down sideways. In fact, you could even hold the brush this way, if that'll encourage you to do this. And then what I want to do is, I see this, so I'm catching this and it's going to bleed. But also, I want to skip some spaces. See those little pops of white in there where I kind of skipped a spot or two? I did it pretty small on this one. I'll do it bigger on the next one. Oh, well, that doesn't have this. Okay, so I'm going to do one side of the vein at a time. In fact, a lot of this photo, a lot of this has a vein that is, trying to do this without getting, smearing the paint, is getting the vein, let me see if I'm on camera, yeah, is getting this one side much darker than the other. And what I am attempting to do with these is I want one side to be considerably darker than the other, and I want to leave some whites. Even though there aren't any pure whites in this photo, I'm raising the contrast because it's just going to make a better piece of art, in my opinion. Oh, look at that lovely little bloom there. See, I love that stuff. Okay, so I'm starting out with just that. Let's see, so this one needs, let me just scoot this all over the photo. Okay. This one, you can only see the veins coming out this way. So I'll just stick with that same color for now. I see a vein right there. And here's the thing, keep this paint pretty strong for some of these. Not all of them. There are some that are so pale they're barely there. You see, I'm skipping and doing little things like that. I'm not just making a line. And it's thicker in some places and smaller in other places. And it might just meander around just a tiny bit. Don't do a bunch of them. That's maybe too much right there. Because what I want is, I want these to still be wet when I get to them. Oh. And a lot of the time I like to wet these at the end, or I might even like to blot a little bit. I think I'll blot that one up there. I think I'll pull my color on up there. Okay, so you see the effect that this is having. Now this one, because I was doing the center vein, I needed for this to dry. We're going to pretend it's dry enough. Let's see if it is, because I'm not sure that it is dry enough. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, okay. You don't need to put every vein in here. In fact, you don't want to. You want to hint that there's veins there. The brain will fill in what's regular, whether you want it to or not. There. And you don't have to soften every bit of every one of these. You know, you could leave some of it not softened. So you see how we've got, not only are we getting shape in here in this leaf slash petal. So I'm going to call it a pleaf. Yeah, pleaf for petal and leaf. It's a pleaf. Okay. So let's see. Back here in the back of this one, I can just barely see a little bit of ribs coming around. Or not ribs, they are, of course, veins. But what I want is, I want that because I want it to give some contour lines so that the viewer will be very aware. Let's bring that one down to there. That this is the back of the leaf that's curved around here. Okay. So we will let that dry, and then I will come back and, oh, you know what? I think that this is probably the center vein right there. So do a little bit of that. And maybe just a spot or two more here. And the thing is, depending on the pleaf, you might want to start varying the color in these a little bit. I didn't there, but okay, so I'll be back in a minute. Please ignore this boy's face. We're painting these two leaves. I'm just saving on paper. Okay, so this is the project that we're working on. Neither one of these are finished. So step one, this is a very, very busy piece. It's got a lot of different leaves in here. It's real easy to get lost. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in these like little background areas first. Okay, I'm back. Now let's put some color in here. And I might, for instance, let me make this part clear. I might very well decide to, let's see, oh, I just want a mixture here. I might just very well decide to come in and deepen a spot or two in here. See, like that? Just because I want that to be, well, it puts a little more depth into a three-dimensionality into the pleaf. Okay, what I need to do is move my chair over, and that way I won't keep doing that. Okay, so now I want to go and I want to get some shape and color into this. Oh, look, I didn't even put let me show you something. I didn't even put a vein here, and that looks great just the way it is. I was just thinking I might darken this. Squeeze that out and see if that's, you know, just little differences like that can actually make the piece have a little more depth to it. Just a little bit. And that's some of the kind of tweaks you can do later. But you can see the color difference in here. Now I've begun to add some, I started out with more of a green here, and I began to add golds. And I went back to something a little more neutral there on that leaf. This one's got greens, it's got a little more gold up in there. This one's still got green veins, and then I went gold with it. It's got this interesting little bend in it. And these are more green. But you can see how they all feel like they're in the same family. They're on the same plant. They're like related, like cousins at least. Okay. See, and here's where I was just starting one. Okay, so let's put some depth into this one. So I'm starting out, I've got my three colors here again, but again, I'm never using a pure color here. It's too strong. What keeps these related and cousins is that everything that I'm laying down there is made up of at least two of these colors, sometimes three. And that keeps them all related and muted. I mean, you don't want them to be too strong. I'm putting this in the wrong pan. Okay. So here we go. Let's do a little more. Okay. A little more of something. Let's see. And I don't know till I put it down exactly how dark it's going to be. But remember, this is juicy. And because this is juicy, I have time to manipulate it. Working too dry will not give you control. It's not working wet enough that hurts your control. Now, as I do this, the gold, maybe because there's more in my brush or because it's a little bit lighter, it seems to me like the gold kind of tends to run out on its own a little bit. Let's go a little bit more goldy red. Oh, just drop that in there even. Okay, come down. Isn't that pretty? So, now, if it stays like that all the way down, that's pretty strong stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of red and put in with the green and the gold so that it mutes it a little bit. It's going to be grayed just a little bit. Well, it looks more like brown. Okay, let's put a little bit more blue in. And see, I can do this. I can come in, I can drop more color in here and change it while I'm working to the color that I want it to be because this is wet enough. Here we go. Now here's a cool. And then I think what we're going to do is we're going to begin to add some water here. And maybe it'll go just like that. I could very well come back here and mess with this. I might even come back and blot it, or add a little bit more or something else in somewhere, just because I felt like it. And if I happen to get a little blossom there, which I'm probably not here, but I would be happy with that. What I'm doing is I'm entertaining my viewer. Actually, I'm entertaining myself too. So here's this one. From where I'm sitting, there's quite a glare on this paper. It's got it's kind of a glossy paper, which I don't like because I don't like to have to fight the glare. That's what I have to use. So I put a little color down there, and then I'm going to soften the edge. You see how that... See, let's go a little more goldy red here. You don't necessarily need to change these up that much everywhere. The thing is that, but I'm doing this to remind you that you can and should part of the time. You've got some pleaves that have the opportunity for a lot of color because they're in partial shadow, which is not real dark because this is what we call a white flower, even though it's green and gold and stuff too. But this area and some of these deeper areas, there's more opportunity for color. I played with color a lot right up here too, but some of these pleaves need to go really, really light. And so they don't have as much opportunity to play with the color. So I'm really pumping it up in this area. And I'm kind of putting that along there like that. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's pick up some gold. Now, let's add some water down out here. Maybe leave a few little skips in it. Got a few little color changes going on here. And maybe I'll just give it a blot there. Oh, that's perfect. I love that blot. Sometimes if the color is set just a little bit before you blot, you get some interesting shapes in there because it'll stay a little dark around the edges, which is a look that I just absolutely love. So I'm just going to put a little bit more shadow right in here, a little shadow right there. Let's blend that out this way. There. Pretty good pleave, if I do say so myself. This got a little flat. You know, this is just a little bit boring. Make some more lights in here. And then when this is dry, I'm going to come back. I'm going to pump some more into it. Oh, totally forgot this area. And we could say that there's some veins running in here. Let's see. Bit strong there. So I'm building some shape. Here, put a little more red. You know what? That's what's wrong with this one. This one doesn't have any red. So this is half dry when I did this on impulse. And I think my best move is to do it imperfectly. You see those little areas that are partially dry that I have left, the little skips in there? They're sort of a muted twinkle. I love that textural effect. I've found that I'm doing more and more of it every day. Well, every day I paint, which isn't every day. And see, this feels a little rippledy now. See down here? It's got a little more shape to it. I could put some shape in that too if it was wet. There's some pleaves. Okay. So that's the first part of my demo. The second part I'm going to do in class, so it probably won't be the same quality, but hopefully it'll still be helpful. There is a lot of work on here to get to this point. I am now suggesting that you do not bother with this masking. See that blue stuff there? That's the masking. Don't bother with that. Oh, also I put in a light green, brighter than the background, but be careful it's not too bright. A light green as an underpainting on this leaf. And what we're going to do is we're going to negatively paint in the darks and leave the veins lighter. So that's it. Ta-da! Is that showing up? Oh yeah. Ta-da! Here's where you're going with it. So I'm just putting it up here to make it easier to see. But anybody that wants this, I'll send them the photo and the map out, and that'll help too. But looking at this is a whole lot easier to see than what we're working from. Okay, bye.